Let me know if you have any questions ahead of the Game Week 16 deadline. Also, let me know if the sound is all right. I'm trying something new, so the sound is going through a program called Unify, so hopefully the sound is fine. Kanchi FPL, how are you? Ready for the new game week? So last night when I checked, Gabriel was one of the most sold players, but when I checked this morning right before this setting up this stream, Ricky Lewis has overtaken his spot on the top three for most transferred out. So now it's Watkins, Haaland, and Ricky Lewis, so two Man City players being the most sold players ahead of the next game week. Sound is fine. Only one question this week, an easy one. Is Gabriel starting? So it's really hard to tell, especially with Arsenal and Arteta and his comments, but he said that Gabriel has trained, and he said that one of Calafiori or Gabriel would probably play in game week 16, and the reporter asked him if it was Gabriel, and he said yes, at least. So, but it's really hard to tell, as mentioned, with Arsenal and Arteta. How many goals do you expect in the Arsenal game? So it's like I expect Arsenal to win that game, probably 2-0 or something like that. So I think that Arsenal defense is decent this game week, but I can't really see a 4-0 like we saw against Man United. So it's really strange. Everton, they in the last 4 game weeks they kept 3 clean sheets, and in the one game they conceded was against Man United and they lost 4-0. So we might see a game like the one against Man United again, but I think that Everton, they have had a good rest, 2 weeks on the training ground with Sean Dyche. So I think that they will be quite solid at the back, to be honest. KDB, he came in for me last game week when we got the news about the postponement of the Everton versus Liverpool game. So I had a really weak bench that week. Gabriel, he was rumored to miss the game, and he did. And I had Buonanotte on the bench as well, and he was not liable to play because he was facing his parent club Brighton. So I felt that I had to do something. So I changed and sold Salah and brought in KDB. And I'm 99% sure that I will just take a punt and keep KDB for game week 16 and not bring in Mo Salah. Havertz has been. I brought him in on my game week 12 wildcard, so I left Saka out. Really, really disappointing. Of course, I had Havertz in game week 12 and 13, where when Saka did really well, I got Saka in for game week 14, and he blanked in both game week 14 and 15. So I'm really hoping that Saka can do something, of course, in game week 16, but I still think that Cole Palmer is the better captain option this game week. I'm also with Apmo. Who will you cap next game week? So next game week, it will probably be one of Saka. He's playing against Crystal Palace away. Palmer, let's have a look at Everton in today's game. If they look bad against Arsenal, I will probably consider captaining Cole Palmer, especially if he does well in game week 16. And I will also consider captaining Jared Bowen for his game against Brighton. So these are my immediate thoughts when we consider game week 17. No wonder you're 1.9 million. Yeah, I had a really, really bad start to the season, to be honest. Some of it was, we could say it was kind of bad luck, but I started the season with Mo Salah and going without Haaland. So I brought Haaland in for game week 6 when Man City had really good fixtures. But as we know, Haaland, he suddenly decided to stop scoring. So a really tough start to the season. And at some point, I was actually ranked close to 5 million. It was like game week 7 or game week 8 and something like that. So last couple of game weeks actually have been decent. I had a really tough start to game week 15, but Jared Bowen, my captain for game week 15, he did well in the last game of game week 15. So I secured a green arrow in that week as well. But I agree, 1.9 million is not a really good rank, especially given how much time I actually use on this game. So the goal is, of course, to better that rank. And it's like I like taking a couple of calculated punts. I think that Fulham, they are probably a bit underrated, and I think that Liverpool will hopefully struggle to run over them. So as I said on my Q&A last night, I think that even if I had Salah this game week, I would probably go Palmer captain. Kevin De Bruyne, he is back playing. Hopefully he can play 90 minutes again, and one of his favorite opponents is actually Man United, and there's no better match for Man City to turn the season around than against their neighbors Man United. So my biggest punt this game week is, of course, keeping De Bruyne instead of bringing in Salah, but I actually like the idea of having Kevin De Bruyne for game week 16, so hopefully it will work out. Of course, I know the risk, and I think that Salah will be close to 150% owned probably, and if he really holds and gets a hat-trick, then my rank will take a new hit. Will be interesting though, seeing my rank at 1.9 at the moment, and the goal is still to get inside at least one top 100k. Will be tough, of course. We're getting close to halfway through the season, but I think it's still possible. All ships intact except from the first wildcard, which I used in game week 12. I've actually got green arrows the last game weeks, even though I've been a bit unlucky. I sold Isaac because he was injured and had a couple of tough fixtures coming up, and I brought in Cunha, but for the last 2 game weeks Cunha has done nothing, while Isaac has scored in both games and has a couple of good fixtures. So I wish I had Alexander Isak for game week 16, but I will keep Kai Havertz and try to bank a couple of free transfers so that I can sell Kevin De Bruyne and bring in Salah. So I might actually, when I look at the fixture list, I might actually, if the plan with Kevin De Bruyne over Salah, if it works in game week 16, I might actually take a new punt in game week 17 when Liverpool play away against Spurs. But I'm not sure if I can handle not having Salah in game week 18 when they play at home against Leicester. So let's wait and see how game week 16 goes before nailing down the plans for the next couple of games. Who deserves the captaincy this round between Saka, Palmer, Haaland and Salah? In my opinion, I would go Palmer, even if I had Salah. I just mentioned that if I had Salah in my team, I would probably still go with Cole Palmer. I think that Fulham are a bit underrated, and I can't really see Liverpool winning for 5-0. So I think that Brentford are more fragile than Fulham at the moment, especially playing away. Brentford not been good away, so I can see an open game in the Chelsea against Brentford game, and Cole Palmer, he often is good in those games with a couple of transitions and a lot of chances. So hopefully Palmer is the best captain option for game week 16. And of course, when we consider historical stats from the last 2 seasons, Haaland has recently done very well against Man United, but I think that Cole Palmer actually at the moment is a safer option than Haaland playing against Man United. Saka is of course a decent option as well, playing against Everton. I started this stream by talking about Everton's defensive record. They kept 3 clean sheets in the last 4 games. One game where they actually conceded was against Man United, and in that game they conceded 4 goals, so that's not great. It might happen again against Arsenal, of course, but I think that the Everton-Arsenal game will be tight as well. The same as with the Liverpool against Fulham game. So another reasoning for going Cole Palmer is, of course, if you captain Cole Palmer and Saka and Salah blanks on today, on Saturday, it will be really, really exciting waiting for that Chelsea game. And if you captain Palmer and if Saka and Salah does well, you still like have the lifeline that your captain play the next day. So the worst feeling is like captaining the player that plays in the early fixture, like Liverpool and Arsenal does in game week 16. And if they blank and there are other captain options playing later that game week. But I'm not saying that this should decide who to captain, but yeah, there's an extra factor, especially in 50-50 decisions. Really close this week, to be honest. All of the mentioned options could, of course, do really well. They are the most expensive and most selected players in the game at the moment. So, yeah. Do you think that Kovacic's return, Grealish entry into the middle, Duque Silva Foden playing on the wings, and De Bruyne release on the field will help Haaland shine? I definitely think that when Man City had so many injuries a couple of game weeks ago, that Haaland maybe his potential was probably a bit weaker. But if you take a look at the stats and how many chances he got from the period from game week 6 until game week 13, he actually had the same amount of, or close to the same amount of shots and big chances as he had in game week 1 to game week 6, where he scored 10 goals. So, of course, I think that he's been kind of unlucky. At least some of those chances he usually scores, but of course, for Man City as a team, if they win games, I think that definitely will benefit Haaland. Football is, of course, a lot about confidence. So if he gets brace or hat trick against Man United tomorrow, I really think that he probably is back and a decent captain option going forward and around Christmas. Thanks, my friend, for the advice. Now all the confusion between my captain will be between Palmer or Haaland. Yeah, as mentioned, really, really tough captain choice this game week, and all the options mentioned are really good. So this is like one of those week where you need a bit of luck to nail down the correct option. So of course the swings, like we saw in game week 15 for the Saka captainers, the swing can be really big in game weeks like this, where the captaincy is spread on several players. Start Poro or Ait Nouri. Oh, close one, really good fixtures for both, but if I had Poro in my team, I would probably just start him. The feeling if you bench Poro and he scores will be a lot worse than if you bench Ait Nouri points, I'd say. Really close though, two good fixtures and yeah, really close call, but I say Poro in the 11 and Ait Nouri first bench probably. Thank you, and I wish you all the best and success. Thank you very much, and the best of luck for game week 16, and good luck with your captain choice as well. of course, thanks for joining in. Thanks for the questions, and thanks to the new subscriber count gone up to 2,663. Thank you for subscribing, and I really appreciate if you like the stream. I've just heard that the more likes the stream gets, the more people will get it up on their page, so that's really appreciated as well. All the best this week. Yes, you too. Best of luck for this game week, and hopefully all of us can talk about our green arrows next time. Let's have a quick look over at X to see if there are some news. On my timeline over at X, I can see that there are a lot of Palmer captainers at the moment. Salah, of course, is a popular choice as well. Scrolling a bit further down, I can see Salah is probably the favorite. I'll put a... Let's see if I can put up a poll. Who will be your captain? Salah, Palmer, Saka. Be right back. No news of importance over at X. Just a lot of managers locking in their teams. But of course, later deadline this game week, 13:30, so the deadline is 2 hours away. Still time to make decisions and lock in your transfers and decide on the captaincy. Talks about the captaincy, it's really tough this game week. There are a lot of good options. Some of the most expensive, most selected players like Saka, Salah, Palmer, Haaland, they have decent fixtures, I'd say, this game week playing at home. Of course, Man City's form recently have not been the best. Playing against Man United, everything can happen in those matches. And as mentioned earlier, I actually think that Liverpool will have a tough game against Fulham. Orange Apple, hey mate, how are you doing? I'm fine, thanks. How about you? Ready for the new game week? Please go and vote in the captain poll. Really interesting to see which player people are captaining for game week 16. Just talked about the captaincy for game week 16 being really close, with some of the best and most selected players having a home fixture. Hello, is there any way I can get a team rating? Sure. Easiest would be just to post your team, of course, in the chat. Another option is, of course, if you... There are a couple of possibilities. You can give me your team ID. You can send me a picture of your team over at X. All good, thanks. Still yet to make my move on Mikolenko to either Gabriel, Timber or Kirkis. Tough decision for you, Orange Apple. Think that's... Especially this game week, I think that Gabriel will play, but of course there is a slight risk that he will not. So bringing in Gabriel for game week 16 is... Yeah, it doesn't really feel right, because I'm not sure if we can trust Arteta in those press conferences. He said that one of Calafiori or Gabriel will probably start, and the reporter asked, is it Gabriel? And Arteta said yes, but we can never know. SJ, hi. Gordon starts this game week. Yeah, I'd say so. He'll probably start. I think Gordon is actually a really good option, to be honest. Especially if you don't have Isaac, then Gordon is a really good option. At that price point, my favorite is probably still Jared Bowen, considering the fixtures and the fact that he is playing out of position as West Ham's number 9 at the moment. and is probably on penalties as well. But Gordon is also a really, really good option. Gepa, Trent, Gabriel, Davis first bench, Timber. So Charlie, I think this team is really good. Maybe a bit heavy in midfield, considering you have 3 cheap forwards. So it would require 2 transfers to get the likes of Havertz, Watkins, Isak, and of course Haaland if you want them. But especially like Ivan Nilsson, he is probably my favorite option at the moment. Welbeck, I'll give him a couple of more game weeks, but he is probably a sell soon if he does not score in game week 16 or 17. And Cunha as well, he is on borrowed time for most teams. The same goes for Ait Nouri. When we look at Wolves fixtures, they have a couple of good fixtures left, but they soon get really, really hard. So at the moment, I think your team looks good, but I would have a plan to change both Welbeck and Cunha. I would probably at some point try to have a bit more money in my front 3, so maybe an option for your team is to play 3-5-2, downgrade one of Welbeck and Cunha and upgrade the other one, probably. Sold Mbumo for Gordon, yeah, decent. I think that even though Mbumo, of course, he did well, scored 13 points last game week, I still think that when we consider the fixtures and Mbumo's recent form, he's not been that involved as you saw in the first 10 game weeks. After Wissa's return from injury, he is playing further out on that right-hand side. So I think that selling Mbumo at the moment is probably a good idea. Close to 30% ownership as well. So bringing in Gordon with more of a differential is a good transfer. Why didn't you bring Salah? It's... how can I explain this? The plan was always to sell Salah and bring him back in. Sold him when we got the news about the postponement of the Everton-Liverpool game. The plan was to bring him in, but after taking a closer look at the fixtures in game week 16, I've decided just to take a punt on keeping De Bruyne. Just see if he can match or even outscore Salah. I need to take a couple of punts. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it to everybody, especially not if you're satisfied with your rank at the moment, but I'm 1.9, not really where I want to be when it comes to the rank. I've had some green arrows and done decent recently, but I had a terrible start to the season. I started the season with Salah, and in game week 6 I sold Salah to bring in Haaland, and Haaland, he scored 10 goals in the first 6 games where I did not own him, and when I got him in the next 6 game weeks he only scored, was it two goals or something like that. So one of the worst starts to the season I can remember, so I need to take a couple of punts. And I talked about this yesterday on my Q&A. I was excited to watch that game on Sunday with Palmer captain. Which player to sell, Johnson or Bowen for Salah? If your plan is to bring Salah in, I would sell Johnson and keep Bowen. I think Bowen is a really good option at the moment. Of course, I wish Antonio a speedy recovery, but the fact that he is out will secure Bowen more minutes as their number 9. So Bowen playing out of position, he's rumored to be on penalties after Paqueta missed a penalty for West Ham. So and for the last 2 game weeks, I know that Bowen blanked in game week 14, was it? Yeah, he blanked in game week 14 against Leicester, but he looked really good, had a lot of chances. I think that he had close to 2 expected goal involvements in that game as well. So Bowen, he passes the eye test at the moment, so I would definitely keep Jared Bowen. We'll do Welbeck to Jimenez next week and then Cunha out the week after. Yeah, sounds good. And I think that Jimenez is a decent option. I think that a lot will go from Cunha to Jimenez, but Welbeck is probably a priority sell, especially if he doesn't look any good this game week, I'd say. Kirkis or Timber, who to bring in? If you have the funds at the moment, I'd go with Timber. But if you need the funds to upgrade elsewhere in your team, then I think that Kirkis is a really good option as well. So 2 good options. Timber is a player that can start each game week for your team. Kirkis is probably more of a rotation option, like in my team. Kirkis is on my bench this game week because I have Jared Bowen, so I'm trying to maximize the points potential by benching the defender playing against one of my midfielders, but I still think that Kirkis is a decent option for game week 16, but hopefully he will not get a clean sheet. I'm having Haaland from game week 1. Yeah, and I talked about this as well 30 minutes ago. I think that if there ever will be a time for Haaland to turn the season around for Man City, it will be in game week 16 against their neighbors, Man United. So I will not be that surprised if Haaland does really well in game week 16. And we know that a lot of players are coming back from injury as well, so they're starting to be full strength. Of course, Rodri will be missed, but others are coming back, so hopefully for the patient Haaland owners, he can do something in game week 16. Your voice is breaking. Hopefully that will be fixed. Maybe I should. I've actually made 2 upgrades to the stream today, so if there are any sound issues, let me know, because today I'm streaming through something called Unify, so hopefully the sound is okay. Goat himself, I'm selling Haaland this game week for Isak, so I'm doing double transfer, bringing Isak, Haaland. I mean bringing Isak, Salah, yeah. Nothing wrong with that. I can see the reasoning for selling Haaland. I just talked about game week 16 being a good opportunity for Man City to turn their season around, but of course, if you want Isak and Salah in your team, that makes totally sense. When we consider the bookies' favorites for anytime goal scorer this game week, it's actually Isak 58 and Haaland 52. So they take up the two top spots for the bookies' anytime goal scorers. So makes a lot of sense. Good luck, everyone. Good luck, Goat himself. Hopefully it will be a really, really good game week. Go and vote in the captain poll. At the moment, Cole Palmer is leading. It's really close. Salah 44 and Cole Palmer 56. Also, make sure to give this stream a like. And thanks to the new subscribers. Really, really appreciate it. I tend to do a Friday night Q&A before every game week. And when I find the time like today, I do a deadline stream as well. So always a Friday night Q&A or a deadline stream, and some weeks I manage to fit in both. In addition, I always make a team selection video ahead of every game week, which usually comes out on Tuesdays. Start Enzo or Johnson? I would start Johnson. Not really a fan of Enzo, to be honest. I know that he has done well recently, but I think that his goals will dry up at some point. I think that he reminds me a bit of Kovacic at the start of this season, where he got a couple of goals and even a brace at some point. But as mentioned, Enzo, he has done well, but it's not like he is a prolific goal scorer. So I think that the goals will dry up, to be honest. Want to bench Mbumo or Rodgers or Strand Larsen? Rodgers, I'd say, out of those. That's the player I would be least disappointed on myself if I benched Rodgers for points. Mbumo is kind of expensive. Benching Mbumo points instead of just selling him, that would really annoy me. And Strand Larsen has a really good fixture. So yeah, Rodgers for me. Goat himself. Should I keep Johnson this game week, then sell him, bring back Bowen after? Should I keep Johnson this game week, then sell him? That's a possibility. It's not like Johnson is injured or anything. He will probably start as well. So it can definitely wait a game week, and you'll have more info as well. Hi, would you sell Flecken and Guardiol for Raya and Colville for free? So selling Flecken and Guardiol for Raya and Colville for free. Of course, if you don't have any other Arsenal defenders, then I would try to get Raya in, because Arsenal are probably the best defense in the league and have good fixtures. So covering their defense is probably a good idea. Their defenders are highly owned as well. Gabriel still highly owned. Saliba most transferred in this game week, and Timber is picking up some ownership as well. So your rank can take a hit if Arsenal gets back-to-back clean sheets, where a lot of managers have double defense. At the same time, Guardiola, I think that Guardiola is a decent fantasy option, especially I had him from the start until game week 12, and game week 6 to 12 he did really well. Not picking up that many clean sheets, but he can contribute with goals. And if you watch Man City games, Guardiola, he is actually playing really, really advanced in some of those matches. So I say it's a small upgrade. Not sure it's worth using 2 free transfers for those moves, but you can see the temptation, and I would say that it's a small upgrade, but I'm not sure if those moves should warrant the use of 2 free transfers, to be honest. But if you don't have any other Arsenal defenders, I would say that it's probably worth it. So I talked about the Arsenal defense this game week. The second most transferred in player this game week ahead of game week 16 is actually Saliba, getting close to 500 new managers ahead of game week 16. Isak is the most transferred in, and Enzo Fernandez, he is taking up that third spot. Talked about Enzo yesterday and really quick some minutes ago. Of course, when we take a look at the points from the last game weeks, he looks really good and tempting to bring in enabler playing for Chelsea with good fixtures, but I think that some of those new owners probably will be a bit disappointed. Thank you. No problem. Hopefully you make the right decision. It's like in those kind of situations where you're selling 2 players that's not injured and will probably start, can sometimes really backfire. So they can get like 4 points, having a lot of saves against Chelsea, and Guardiola can easily get a goal against Man United. So, but as mentioned, I think that if you want to cover the Arsenal defense, then it's probably worth it. Best Lewis replacement, 6.1 in the bank. I really like Timber at the moment. When we consider the injury to Ben White, he will probably play, and he's looked good as well when he's gotten the chance. So Timber would be my priority. I also like Estepinian from Brighton. He is starting to look more like the Estepinian from the 22-23 season. So he will watch the last Brighton game, and he looked really dangerous going forward as well. So I think that he is a decent differential. And if you want to just save some funds, then I think that Kirk is the best budget option at the moment. I'm benching him this game week, but it's mostly because Bournemouth are against West Ham and I own Jared Bowen. Another option, if you don't have any Chelsea defenders, I'd say Colwill is decent. Kind of boring though. I think that his points limits for a game week is at 6 if they keep a clean sheet, but he's not really attacking, and you will probably have to rely on Chelsea keeping clean sheets, so I would prefer having Sanchez, their goalkeeper, but yeah. They're both really good options, so Chelsea is probably the better team. Bournemouth, they have done well recently as well, and I would say Kirk is probably a bit better due to his attacking threat. Let's have a quick look over at X to see if there are any news. Maybe I'm still a bit early for leaks and such. So the game week and the deadline is getting closer. It's close to 90 minutes, 1 hour and 32 minutes. So if you want another option, and if you have a strong bench, I would probably consider Munoz as well. I looked at the pictures for Crystal Palace, and it looks really, really good. Just have a quick look. Yeah, from game week 19, Crystal Palace have really, really nice fixtures. They play at home against Southampton in game week 19. Bit tougher in game week 20, Chelsea at home, but then they have Leicester, West Ham, Brentford, Man United, Everton, Fulham, Villa, and Ipswich. And Munoz, he really passes the eye test, to be honest. So attacking, and every time the ball is down one of the sides, he is just bombing into the box. At times he looks more like a winger than defender. But of course, game week 19 is some game weeks away, so it's probably better to go with one of Kirkis or Colwill, to be honest. Any early thoughts on the assistant manager chip? Have you used your triple captain? I've not used my triple captain. Will be interesting to see if the double game week for Liverpool is in around game week 24, 25. We'll probably consider using the triple captain. When it comes to the assistant manager chip, yesterday I read all the articles on the FPL page about it, and I kind of like it. I've seen that most comments on the official FPL page over at X have been really negative about the new chip, but it has some potential in my opinion. I just think that most FPL managers were expecting something else, and most FPL managers are often against new ideas and changes to the game as well. So I think that the chip is actually pretty good. So my first thought is that it's really, really powerful to play the chip on one of the defenders from the teams that have had a tough start to the season. And of course, Man City will potentially be, there will potentially be a really good opportunity to play the chip on Pep and get extra points as well, if they start to turn their season around, of course. But the problem with the new chip is that if you activate the assistant manager chip, it will stay active for 3 consecutive game weeks. So it's really important to decide on a chip strategy, especially the triple captain for those who haven't used it, so that you don't use the assistant manager chip when you were going to play the triple captain, because you can't play the triple captain while your assistant manager chip is active. So will be really important to plan a chip strategy. I'll probably look more into the use of chips during Christmas and the New Year. Probably post a video on it as well. A couple of options. Take a look at which teams have 3 good game weeks in a row. So that's what we want when we activate the triple, or I'm sorry, the assistant manager chip. I think that playing the assistant manager chip on one of the teams a bit down on the league table will probably be really powerful, because you get 10 extra points for every win. If I already have Palmer and Jackson, is Mbumo to Enzo a bad idea? I'd probably say so, yes. I talked about Enzo earlier on this stream, and of course he's done well recently, but I can't really see him keeping it up. He's not a prolific goal scorer. That's actually not his job in that team. So he's been in good positions and taken his chances recently, but as mentioned, I think that a couple of his new managers will be disappointed. I can see this situation being really similar to Kovacic at the start of the season, where he scored a couple of goals and even got a brace at some point. So I think he got 2 price rises or something like that, but suddenly he stopped scoring. Of course, he got injured later on as well, but he played a lot of minutes before his injury without scoring as well. So not my favorite to bring in. I'm not a really big fan of tripling up on teams. The reasoning is actually that in a game, 3 bonus points will be handed out, and if you have 3 players from the same team in the same game, they are actually competing for the same bonus points. So if you have too many triple ups, then I think that will weaken your potential for points, to be honest. So if you want to sell Mbumo, I would probably consider someone like Jared Bowen playing out of position up front for West Ham. And West Ham have really good fixtures coming up, so I would prefer having Jared Bowen rather than Enzo. I know there's a big price difference, but Mbumo is more expensive than Bowen, so it's probably possible to make that move. But if you need the funds elsewhere, Enzo probably is a decent option, but I wouldn't want to rely on starting Enzo every game week. Bench Rodgers or Raul? A tough one. Got a similar question 30 minutes ago, and Rodgers was the one, but in this case, playing away against Liverpool, I would probably bench Raul, to be honest. Rodgers have a tricky game playing away against Forest, but I think that the trip to Anfield probably is as tough as it can get at the moment. And I have a quick look. I think that last time Fulham had a really tough fixture, Raul was benched, wasn't he? Let's see. Raul Jimenez, nah, he started against Arsenal. He was benched in game week 14 against Brighton. There goes that theory. But yeah, I would bench Raul Jimenez at Anfield. Ralph Sutton, thank you. No worries. Haaland, Semenyo, Rico Lewis to Isak, Saka, and Timber for free. I'd say yes. I really like Isak for game week 16. So I think Isak, Saka, and Timber probably will outscore Haaland, Semenyo, and Lewis. Lewis is potentially... Oh, of course, Lewis is suspended. Semenyo... So Haaland and Semenyo, they are both decent, but getting in Isak and Saka is an upgrade in my opinion. So if you have 3 transfers and no other issues in your team, I think that Isak, Saka, and Timber probably are really good transfers in for game week 16. No worries, hopefully those moves will work out for you. Isak, he is the #1 when it comes to bookies anytime goal scorer prediction. Isak against Leicester at 58%. But the thing is that Haaland, he is actually second, so there is of course a slight risk selling Haaland, of course, while Isaac is 58, Haaland is 52, so it's close, but I think that Isak will do well going forward, so good luck. Make sure to vote in the poll who will be your captain for game week 16. Let me know in the comments if you have any other options. I think the ones I put in was Salah, Palmer, and Jackson. So go vote in the poll, and I would really appreciate it if you like the stream when you join in. I've heard and read something about the more likes the stream get, the more people possibly will join in and see it on their For You page. So I would really appreciate if you like the stream. Quick look over at X to see if there are any news coming in this Saturday. FPL Goat, he sold Ricky Lewis to Colville, rolling his other transfer. Let's see, Lewis is being sold by a lot. Let's have a quick look at the most transferred out. Yeah, Lewis is actually third for most transfers out. It's gone above 300,000 at the moment. Watkins is the most sold player ahead of game week 16, and Haaland is on second place for most transfers out. Isak, most transferred in. Saliba, second, and Enzo Fernandez is actually the third most transferred in player ahead of game week 16. I talked a lot about him. I feel that I talked about him a lot yesterday as well, and I don't really like Enzo Fernandez as an FPL option, and I think that his new owners probably will be a bit disappointed. By the look of it, it looks really close. The captaincy debate this game week. I can see a lot of managers going for Cole Palmer. At the same time, it looks like Most others are giving the armband to Salah, so will be really interesting to see their ownership. Both of them will probably go above 100%. I think Salah probably will be the most owned player in game week 16. My plan is actually to take a risk going without Salah. I sold him before game week 15 when we got the news about the postponement of the Everton-Liverpool game. So my initial plan was to bring him in, but when we consider that Liverpool are playing against Fulham, I'm willing to take a punt on Kevin De Bruyne to match or even outscore Mo Salah this game week. So it's 1 hour and 50 minutes until the deadline. It's time to start making decisions. Time to decide on the captaincy. Of course, you have 1 hour and 50 minutes, but my experience is that if you make late transfers or make captain decisions, it always feels a bit worse when we get things wrong. But like if you make a calculated decision a couple of hours before the deadline, then it's easier to handle. No other big news over at XTB. There's no breaking news, just a lot of people, at least on my timeline, posting the team transfer discussion, and of course the Palmer versus Salah debate. Ooh. Thanks for joining in and thanks for voting in the poll. At the moment, Salah, he has actually overtaken Cole Palmer as the best captain option in game week 16. It's 28 votes, so it's not that big of a sample size, but Salah, he is on 54, Palmer 46, and Saka, he has no votes. Really close between Salah and Palmer, and I just went to X to like look for some leaks or team news. Nothing big, but there are a lot of discussion points on the Salah versus Palmer. For me, I will captain Cole Palmer. I like the fixture against Brentford. They are especially bad defensively when they play away, so hopefully the game Chelsea against Brentford will be an open game with a lot of chances, and Cole Palmer, he tends to do well in those kinds of games. So Palmer will be my captain. I have decided to take a punt in game week 16 by not transferring in Mo Salah. This was my initial plan, to sell Kevin De Bruyne and bring in Salah, but I will wait a game week, and if the plan goes well this game week, I will probably do the same next game week when Liverpool play at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium against Spurs. But I will definitely get Salah back ahead of game week 18 when they play at Anfield against Leicester. So hopefully Kevin De Bruyne against Man United, hopefully he can match or possibly even outscore Mo Salah in game week 16. But I know the risk, and I know that he will probably be above 150% ownership. So it can potentially send my rank down to around 3 million or something like that. But I'm willing to take the risk, and if the plan goes well, then I most probably will get a green arrow in game week 16. When I have those game weeks where one or two players are really big threats, then I tend to sometimes go into the bookies and like bet on a brace or something like that. So that makes it like a win-win situation. So I will be really glad when it comes to FPL if they blank, but if they do well, I get a little kind of a bonus. So but Salah, he is the captain favorite in game week 16. 54%, Palmer second with 46, and Saka, he is an option, but he has no votes at the moment. Be right back. Let me know your questions. Post them in the comments. I'll be back in 1 minute. I'm back, sorry. Just had to fix something. Oh, we're close to 1 hour. It's 61 minutes until deadline. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll take a quick update on X to see if there are some news ahead of Game Week 16. Ricolou is really close between him and Gabriel for being top 3 for top transfers out. So Ricolou is 299 transfers out. Gabriel 297k, of course, transfers out. Saliba almost transferred in by 500,000. So FPL managers at the moment, they want to cover the Arsenal defense. They want Saliba. If I decided to sell Gabriel at the moment, I would probably go for Timber. We know that Ben White at some point will come back, but halvtimme kanske? Garner. Price transfers made Bruno and Vissa out for Enzo and Isak. I really like Isak, so hopefully this will work out for you. Wish I had a couple of more transfers. I would probably actually try to restructure my team and get Isak in, and Havertz would probably make way because I would not afford the upgrade from Cunha to Isak. To be honest, as I mentioned earlier, I'm not sure that Enzo is that good when it comes to FPL, but of course he might continue delivering goals, and of course at that price it's worth a punt. So good luck, Enzo and Isak. Decent transfers in. I genuinely hope Enzo proves you wrong. Yeah, Of course, as mentioned, I think that he, in the form he's in, and the confidence he has at the moment, he potentially can do well in the next couple of game weeks as well. And we know Chelsea have really good fixtures, and especially in game week 16 against Brentford, I like Chelsea's fixture and their chances for scoring. So Enzo might do well in game week 16, but I can't see Enzo being a player hitting 10, 15 goals in a season, to be honest. Just can't really see that happening. Do you suggest getting rid of Smith Rowe or saving my free transfer? It kind of depends who you want to bring in for Smith Rowe, to be honest. And Fulham, they actually have really good fixtures coming up as well. It's a bit tough at the moment, the next couple of game weeks. I'll have a quick look at the Fulham fixtures. So in game week 16, obviously playing away against Liverpool is as hard as it gets. Good fixture in game week 17 for Fulham, playing at home against Southampton. A trip to Stamford Bridge in game week 18, but after game week 18 they have really good fixtures coming up. Bournemouth, Ipswich at home, West Ham, Leicester, Man United. So it depends on your team, I'd say, and who you plan to bring in. I'm really liking Harvey Barnes. I feel he's a great differential. I want to bring him in if Enzo doesn't perform this game week. Harvey Barnes is a decent option as well. The problem with Harvey Barnes is that he is not completely nailed on. Good price. He's really good when he plays. Tends to have a really good FPL points to minutes ratio, so Harvey Barnes is a decent option. The problem, as mentioned, is that he is not nailed on in that Newcastle team. So Gordon will probably play, Jacob Murphy as well. Then who is the best alternative for Smith Rowe? I think that the problem with this price range is that the options that have been really popular when you talk about Smith Rowe, Semenyo, and Rogers, those three have done reasonably well and they are still good value, but I wouldn't want necessarily to play them every game week and relying on them to start every game week. But if you have the funds, my preferred options in midfield is, I talked about Jared Bowen. He's nailed on for West Ham at the moment, playing out of position, probably on penalties as well, playing as their number 9. So Jared Bowen is a really good option. Of course, he is more expensive, so I'm not sure if you have the funds to upgrade to Bowen. I talked about Gordon, another good option. He's also priced at 7.3, 7.2, something like that. So he's also a couple of million more expensive than Smith Rowe. But if you can stretch it to Mitoma from Brighton, I think that he is also a really good differential in midfield. His ownership is around 7 or 8. So I also like Mitoma at the moment. If you can upgrade Smith Rowe to Mitoma, I would definitely go for it. Madueke or Barnes, if you had to choose. I would let the rest of my team decide. So if you have Cole Palmer, I would probably go Barnes, and if you have Isak, I would probably go Madueke. Thing is that I don't really think that they are nailed on. They're, especially Chelsea, they have so many options, and we will probably see even more rotation going forward. So Madueke is decent when he starts, but if you bring in him, you have to you have to be prepared for Madueke to be benched in some game weeks, I'm afraid. But of course, both of them are really good options if you have only around 6 million to invest. So I don't hate bringing in Barnes or Madueke, but I just think that you need to be prepared for a couple of one pointers from them both. Home of FPL, no Salah. Yeah, I talked about this earlier on the stream. No Salah for me in game week 16. I made the switch last game week when we got the news about the postponement of the Everton Liverpool game. So I sold Mo Salah, brought in Kevin De Bruyne. The initial plan was actually to bring Salah back this game week, but after taking a closer look at the fixtures and Fulham's stats recently, I've decided to take a punt and go against Mo Salah in game week 16. So hopefully Kevin De Bruyne can match him or even outscore him in that Man City against Man United game tomorrow. So I know the risk, and Salah will probably be at around 150% owned, maybe above this. So I know the risk, but at my rank at the moment, 1.9, not really where I want to be, so I need to take a couple of punts. I would not necessarily advise you to go without Salah in game week 16, especially not if you're satisfied with your rank and your mini leagues, but I'm willing to take the punt. Yeah, his effective ownership will be massive, of course, in game week 16. But I took a quick look over at X, and there are a lot of players captaining Cole Palmer as well. And in my poll, Salah is actually only up by a couple of percent. He's 52, Palmer 48, so it's really, really close. The third option, Saka, he has 0 votes. 34 votes, so not a really big sample size, but it's really close between Salah and Cole Palmer for captaincy in game week 16. I had a look over at X for team news as well, and there are a lot of managers asking questions about captaincy this game week. KDB might get reduced minutes. Yeah, that's one of the problems with De Bruyne at the moment. I just hope that he starts the game. I was really excited last game week where I sold Salah and brought in Kevin De Bruyne. I was not sure that he would start in game week 15 either, but he started. He had actually a couple of good chances in that game as well. So I think it was top 5 for expected goal involvements in game week 15. Probably some of the players on Sunday overtook him for that 5th spot. Probably Jared Bowen on Monday as well. So top 10, I'd say. So a bit unlucky, had something like 0.80 expected goal involvements. So he was close to get points, but yeah, I'm willing to take the punt on Kevin De Bruyne outscoring or matching Salah in game week 16. no news over at X. I'm not sure. I don't really think that we'll get any news on the Gabriel situation ahead of the deadline. What we know is that Arteta got asked about Gabriel. He mentioned that both Gabriel and Calafiori had trained and that one of them possibly will be involved this weekend. The reporter asked if it was Gabriel, and Arteta said yes. So if we can trust Arteta, then Gabriel probably will play, but we've seen a lot of times that Arteta, he is a manager that likes to play mind games, and I'm not sure if we can trust him, to be honest, but there is a chance that Gabriel will play. He has been involved in the last couple of training sessions. For me, if Gabriel is benched, I will get Kirkis in. Not ideal for me. I have Jared Bowen and hoping that he will do well. So if Gabriel is out, I will have Kirkis playing against Jared Bowen. Last on my bench, I have Masraoui. I know Man City is not in their best form, but a home fixture against Man United is the perfect game to restart their season, and I also have Kevin De Bruyne, so I want Man City to score. So first on my bench, Buonanotte. I really think that he is a decent option, to be honest, but I can't really see anyone in my front seven that I would bench to play Buonanotte. So my team is close to locked in. I have considered selling Havertz to bring in Isak, and of course also selling Kevin De Bruyne to bring in Salah, but I've decided to take a punt on keeping Kevin De Bruyne for game week 16. Afternoon, mate. I have Salah, Saka, and Palmer. I don't know who to choose as captain. Salah, Saka, and Cole Palmer, those are the three options in the captain poll. It's actually 50-50 between... it's Salah 50, Palmer 47, and Saka 3%. So Salah is the favorite in the poll. My personal opinion is that Cole Palmer probably is the best option for game week 16. Really good fixture for Chelsea playing against Brentford. So even if I had Salah in my team, I would probably still go Palmer captain. So Cole Palmer, in my opinion, is the best option for game week 16. Of course, Salah, he is on top 3 for predicted anytime, predicted goal scorers. So I think he's above 50%, 51, 52. Let's have a look. It's on the screen on the right hand side. Top 3 anytime goal scorers, Salah against Fulham 51. So it's only beaten by Haaland and Isak. Palmer is really close. He's like 48, 49 or something like that. So it's not much between them, to be honest. But I think that Fulham probably is a bit underrated. So my choice would be Cole Palmer. What if it's between Salah and Saka? I like Saka for game week 16, but if I had both Saka and Salah, I would probably give the captaincy to Salah. He will be heavily captained in game week 16, so captaining Salah is the safest option and can easily be the best option as well. Saka, of course, a decent fixture against Everton, but Everton at the same time have kept 3 clean sheets in their last 4 games. I think Arsenal will score and win against them, but when Arsenal play against teams like Everton with a low block, good at defending, I kind of feel that Saka tends to play a little bit too far out on the right hand side, so I think Saka is decent, but Salah would be my preferred option if it was between Saka and Salah. It's not like every game Arsenal play against a good defense, he plays too far right, but it can happen as well if they have Arsenal. Sometimes they pack the opposition with playing with 4 up front, so Saka is playing really far out right, and his main job is like to switch the ball, and he sends it back to Odegaard, who like they're trying to get tempo on the ball. And in those games, Saka's main threat is just to swing the ball in and hope for Havertz to score. So in those games, I don't really like Saka's potential, but of course we know about his qualities. He's a really good player, and if the opposition has some space behind their defense and the goalkeeper, he's really good at taking advantage of it. So, but I can see a game where Everton is really deep and Saka playing really far out right. I'm not saying that it definitely will happen, but there is a slight risk, especially a risk for the Saka captainers in game week 16. It's really frustrating watching Arsenal if you own Saka and we get the game that I'm describing. Thank you, sir. No worries. Who will be your captain? Have you voted in the poll? It's still 50% for Salah, 47% for Palmer, 3% for Saka. Make sure to vote in the poll. I'd really appreciate it if everyone who joins in like the stream. The more likes, the more people will see the stream on their YouTube page. And of course, if you enjoy the content, please subscribe to the channel. On this stream, I got 4 new subscribers. Thank you very much for subscribing. Really appreciate it. I'm gonna go with Salah, the safe option. Makes sense, and you will not be alone in the decision. I think that Mo Salah probably will have an effective ownership that will surpass 150% in game week 16. So of course, Mo Salah, when we consider his form in recent game weeks, he is a really good option in game week 16 as well. Scored midweek penalty in the Champions League. Of course, did not play in game week 15 due to the postponement of the Everton-Liverpool Merseyside derby, but this game will be played later this season. The rumors are that it will be game week 24 or game week 25. So Liverpool will have a double game week. I can't remember the other opponent, so it will be Everton, and if it's game week 24, it will be Everton and Bournemouth, and if it's game week 25, it will be actually a really good double game week for Liverpool. They will play Everton and Wolves at Anfield, so hopefully the game is played in game week 25. My team has no Salah in it at the moment. My plan is to bring in him next game week. The initial plan was to sell De Bruyne and get Salah in this game week, but I'm willing to take a punt on keeping Kevin De Bruyne. I might actually take a punt next game week as well if it goes to plan this game week. Liverpool, they play against Spurs away next game week, and I might be willing to take a punt as mentioned, but for game week 18, Liverpool, they play at home against Leicester, so I will definitely get sack for that game. I think that the situation at Liverpool is really strange that they're not offering Salah a new contract. Can't really see the logic when we consider his performances. I know he's getting older, but at least offering him a 1 or 2 year contract would make a lot of sense just to get the rumors out of the world. I also have KDB. Oh, so so you have Salah and KDB. So what does your midfield 5 look like? Do you have 4 midfielders or 5? So you have Saka, KDB, Salah, Palmer. Oh, the powerful 5. Nice. I really consider having Saka on my game week 12 wildcard. I got Havertz in as well, so that's the reasoning for me having Kai Havertz up top. I had Mbumo on my game week 12 wildcard, but made the change to Saka in game week 14. And of course, the last couple of game weeks, Saka, he has blanked back to back, while Mbumo, he actually scored points, 13 points in game week 15. I also had Isaac on my game week 12 wildcard. He blanked in game week 12, got injured in game week 13, and I sold him for Cunha. So I did Isaac and Mbumo to Saka and Cunha. And the irony is that Isaac, all of a sudden, he was recovered from his injury and he has scored in both game week 14 and 15. And it's a really, really good option for game week 16 as well. If I had Isaac, I would probably consider him for captain this game week, actually. We know that Wilson injured again, hamstring injury once again for Callum Wilson. So Isaac, he will start up front and be on penalties. really like your midfield. I'm weak for a midfielder that scores goals, and of course, all of your midfielders have the potential to do so. De Bruyne probably the weakest option, the only one in that midfield not being on penalties. Haaland, he is the penalty taker for Man City. Bruno is ticking along nicely as well. We know that he is actually a really good fantasy option, especially when he plays just behind the number 9. When he plays in that 10 role, Bruno Fernandes is a really good fantasy option. It's just those games where he tends to drop deep to get involved and plays more like a number 6. In those games, he almost, it's like it's a yellow card magnet when he plays in that role. So I've had him for game week 1 to 8 and actually 12 to 14. So I owned Bruno Fernandes for most of this season and watched all the Man United games actually, and can be a really frustrating watch if Bruno Fernandes plays a little bit deeper, and especially if he's annoyed at something or someone, he always tends to pick up a yellow. So with that expensive midfield, I guess you have some cheaper options up front. Do you have like something similar to me, like Joao Pedro, Cunha, maybe even Strand Larsen, Delap? At the moment, I think that Evan Nilsson from Bournemouth probably is the most interesting enabler up front. Love ownership as well, good fixtures for Bournemouth. So I like Evan Nilsson as an enabler up front. I will consider bringing Raul Jimenez from game week 19. Fulham, they have a couple of tough fixtures, especially this game week against Liverpool, but I really like Fulham's fixtures from game week 19 and onwards. At the same time, Wolves and Cunha have really tough fixtures, so a potential transfer for me in the coming game weeks is to sell Cunha and bring in Jimenez. My forward is Strand Larsen and Joao Pedro. Yeah, that's what I thought, because Strand Larsen, he's like the budget Cunha, and with that midfield, it has had to be something, something like that. I also have Daka. That the gaffer is not giving playing time. Yeah, it's like he's actually a good player, but I don't necessarily see him as a good fantasy option at the moment because of the limited minutes. But was it game week 14 or was it game week 15 where actually got a goal? Was it against West Ham? Was it game week 14? I'll have a look. Didn't start that game either though. Came in from the bench. Yeah, game week 14 against West Ham. 7 points for Dhaka. Played 30 minutes. Dhaka, that was kind of surprising taking a look at Patson Daka, seeing his minutes. He hasn't played more than 80 minutes so far this season. 11 in game week 12, 26 game week 13, 30 minutes in game week 14, and 9 minutes in game week 15. So I think that with the form of Jamie Vardy at the moment, he's actually looking really good, and I can't really see Jamie Vardy being benched too often. I think that during December, probably when we have midweek games, Daka will get more minutes, but I don't see him being a good option, to be honest. So Daka, he would be on my priority list to get rid of, but if you play 3-5-2, it's probably for the time being 4.8, so it's probably just okay to have him on the bench, I guess. At least you don't have a benching headache each game week because you know that Daka, he will be the one on the bench. That's one of the reasons on game week 12 wildcard why I actually picked Buonanotte over the likes of Semenyo and Rogers, Smith Rowe. I could spend 0.7, 0.6 and upgrade to one of those guys, but having 5 million priced Buonanotte, it's much easier for me to just have him on the bench, and at the same time he's actually pretty decent. He looks dangerous when Leicester go forward, so I like Buonanotte, but most game weeks he will be first on my bench. Start Semenyo or Enzo. I would start Semenyo, to be honest. I know that a lot have brought in Enzo for this game week. He is the third most transferred in player ahead of game week 16. I've been talking about him a couple of times already today. I think that a lot of his new managers will be kind of disappointed. He's done well recently, of course, but I can't really see Enzo Fernandez getting 10, 15 goals this season. So I think that his goals will dry up at some point. I'm not saying that he will do bad in game week 16. I think that Chelsea have a really good fixture and my captain will be Cole Palmer, but I would probably start Semenyo ahead of him in this game week, to be honest. It's like Enzo's job is not to score goals. They have other players with the goal score responsibility. Semenyo is more attacking as well, so yeah, Daka is almost always on my bench. It was last week he came in for Salah. Yeah, I realized that it had to be a fresh transfer. When I had a look at Daka, it's like he started playing, was it game week 13, something like that. He's been out with injuries, so I get the appeal of getting Daka though. 4.8 really cheap. If Jamie Vardy gets injured, he might actually be a decent option at some point. But with Jamie Vardy fit and in form as we see right now, then that guy is probably just a bench player, to be honest. "18 minutes left until deadline. Time to make the transfers if you have some transfer plans, or to make decisions if you're not already decided on your moves. The captaincy, my advice is to decide on the captaincy now and don't wait until the last minute. For me personally, it feels better if I make a captain decision that's like pre-planned and have some reasoning behind it. So that feels better if it goes really, really wrong. This game week can potentially be a high scoring game week. A lot of the good fantasy options, the most popular players, they have a home fixture, relatively good fixtures in game week 16, and nailing down the captaincy can be really important. Why not Salah, the captain? So the reason for me going Cole Palmer is that I really like Chelsea's fixture in game week 16. Brentford, they have been awful away, so I think that Brentford probably is a better fixture than people realize. When it comes to Fulham, I think that they are kind of underrated, so I can't really see Liverpool scoring 4 or 5 goals against them. So I think that the Fulham game will be tough, and I think that the Chelsea versus Brentford game will have a lot of goals and chances. When it comes to Salah, he's at the moment not in my team. I sold him ahead of the game week 15 deadline because of the postponed game Everton against Liverpool. The initial plan was to bring him in this game week, but after taking a closer look at Fulham, I've decided to take a punt on going against Salah for game week 16. I know the risk and that he will be captained by a lot, and his effective ownership will probably be around 150, something around those numbers. So a huge risk, of course, going without Salah, but my rank 1.9 million, not really where I want to be. So I'm taking a punt in game week 16. So around game week 8, 9, I actually was ranked around 5 million. Had some bad luck at the start of the season, especially when it comes to Salah and Haaland. So I started the season with Mo Salah without Haaland, with a plan to bring in Haaland from game week 6. So yeah, 10 goals for Haaland in the first 6 game weeks. And when I got Haaland in, he scored 2 goals in the same amount of games. So really tough start to the season. As mentioned, I was ranked close to 5 million, something like that, around game week 8, 9. So recently I got some green arrows. My rank is 1.9, and hopefully going for a punt on Kevin De Bruyne to match or hopefully even outscore Salah in game week 16 is maybe a bit too much to ask for, but I'm willing to take a punt this game week. I will consider bringing Salah in next game week, but if my plan of going Salah-less in game week 16, if it works out, I might actually take a new punt in game week 17. Liverpool, kind of a tough fixture, playing against Tottenham at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium away. So might take a punt next game week, but I will definitely have Salah in game week 18 when Liverpool plays at Anfield against Leicester. The reasoning for selling Salah last game week was that my bench was really thin ahead of game week 15. I had Gabriel, who almost were confirmed to be out of game week 15. Hopefully he can play this game week, but he was out in game week 15. I also had Buonanotte, and he did not play last game week because he was facing his parent club, Brighton, so he was not liable to play game week 15. My bench was really, really thin last game week, so I decided to bring in Kevin De Bruyne. Didn't work out, of course. De Bruyne, he blanked 2 points, but top 10 for expected goal involvements in game week 15 for Kevin De Bruyne, 0.78, 79, something like that. So we easily could have got at least 1 assist in that game. On the other hand, of course, when it comes to the bookies prediction for anytime goal scorers in game week 16, Salah, he is second on that list. Another player I think will do well in game week 16 is Isak. The bookies believe in him as well. He is the bookies' favorites. 58%. Haaland is 52, and Salah against Fulham 51. So not owning any of these 3 players is, of course, a bit scary, but hopefully my players can match or outscore them. Let's have a quick look over at X. Still a lot of managers undecided on the captaincy, asking questions about Salah or Cole Palmer. A thread about Gabriel, no real concrete news in that one, so I guess it's 50-50 if Gabriel starts and plays in game week 16 or not. No early leaks or team news from what I can see. Isak starts, no surprise. Gabriel has been spotted with the Arsenal team, so I guess that's good news for Gabriel owners. I said all week that I think that Gabriel actually will start in game week 16. Arteta's comments were positive, so would you do Ait Nouri to Trent for free? If you want to change some or keep some funds in your defense by investing in Trent, I think that it's probably not the best game week. Ait Nouri has a good fixture in game week 16 as well, but if you really want to do the move, Ait Nouri's fixtures gets really tough from game week 17 18, from game week 18. So Ait Nouri is a sell, not necessarily in game week 16, but if you believe that Liverpool can keep a clean sheet this game week against Fulham, then it's probably a good move just to get ahead of the curve and bring Trent in this game week. So yeah, if you have the available funds and free transfer, then go for it. The thing that kind of makes me want to say no is, of course, the Wolves fixture in game week 16. Can't get really better than playing at home against Ipswich, but then again, Wolves have not been really good defensively recently, so selling out Nouri to bring in Trent is, of course, a really good upgrade. Seven minutes until the deadline. In the captain poll in the chat, Salah 47, Palmer is ahead. He is on 50%. 40 people have voted, so not the biggest sample size, but 47 for Salah, 50 for Palmer, 3% for Saka. And this really mirrors what I've seen over at X during the last couple of hours. A lot of questions about the captaincy for game week 16 and which one to pick from Salah or Cole Palmer. My captain will be Cole Palmer. I really like the Chelsea fixture in game week 16, playing at the Stamford Bridge against Brentford. Brentford might actually be a bit overrated. Their away form has been really bad, so hopefully there will be an open game with a lot of goals and chances. FPL Focal, not sure where he got the info, but he is posting on X about Gabriel being with the Arsenal squad. I think this is good news for Gabriel owners, so hopefully he will play in game week 16. Five minutes left until the deadline. It's getting close. 3 minutes. 3 minutes until deadline. It's time to lock in the teams. I'll have a quick check at my team as well. this will be it for me. Captain Cole Palmer. I will bench Buonanotte, Kirkis, and Masraoui. The reasoning for benching Kirkis is that he is up against West Ham and Jared Bowen, so I don't want Jared Bowen and Kirkis in the same game. My initial plan was actually to sell Kevin De Bruyne and bring in Salah, but I will take a punt this game week on Kevin De Bruyne to match or hopefully even outscore Mo Salah. Captain Solanke, surely you have better options than Solanke this game week. Sounds like kind of a desperate move, but of course I like a punt, but considering Solanke's form recently, I would not give him the captain's armband, to be honest, in game week 16, but there are so many good options this game week. A lot of the most owned, the most expensive players have a home fixture this game week. So going Solanke captain sounds a bit maverick, to be honest. So my advice would be not captain Solanke if you go through with it. Of course, the best of luck with the Solanke captaincy. Only 1 minute to go. If you plan on making transfers, it's time to lock your team in. Time to make a decision on captaincy if you're still undecided. So deadline is gone. Hopefully you got your transfers in and the captaincy landed on the right player. We'll see you later. I really appreciate everyone who joined in. Hopefully you enjoyed the stream. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel to catch the next one. It will probably be a Q&A ahead of game week 17. Thanks for watching and best of luck for game week 16.